Princess. I was looking for the perfect life partner, true love. From childhood, I had before my eyes an example of how not to live. My mother. Always tormented by hard work on the farm, disliked by my father, but turning a blind eye to all his disgusting acts. I never loved my parents. Why love them? My father was an ordinary drunk, beating me, my brothers and sisters, there were 5 of us, and my mother was just a fool to marry him. The only thing that united my parents was the farm. She was the main thing in their life, and the rest they cared little. Including as children, the upbringing of the younger ones fell entirely on the shoulders of the older ones. I was still a child myself and I didn't want such a childhood at all. To wash pissing diapers, not to sleep at night and rock the cradle. How I hated this damn piece of land. We were forced to work on the farm from morning to night. I felt like a disenfranchised slave in the galleys and found my salvation in reading women's romantic magazines and books, dreaming that one day a handsome prince would come and take me out of this nightmare. When I was 16 years old, I started talking to Charlie. And although we met with him for only a few months, I gladly accepted his marriage proposal. Then it seemed to me that here it is, happiness. Confident that Charlie was my prince on a white horse, I gladly left my parents' farm. How wrong was I? He turned out to be no better than my father, the same alcoholic who carved my children one by one. After the 3rd child, I already began to forget how I look without a belly. Pregnancy has become my usual state. I was again surrounded by diapers, children's crying and unbearably exhausting chronic lack of sleep. I'm back to what I was running from. True, with only one small difference. Now the mother-in-law has also been added. The imperious tyrant who poisoned my already lousy existence lived with us under the same roof. After another scandal with my mother-in-law, I locked myself in the room and sobbed, bitterly realizing that all my dreams crumbled to dust. I didn't want to live my life the way my mother lived. I didn't want to be her. I had to break out of this vicious circle. That day, something in me died. I no longer had feelings for either my husband or my children. In general, they began to annoy me. In each of my daughters, I saw the traits of my hated mother-in-law. Except for the youngest, I loved her, she was like me. Soon my 2 older daughters died. This happens when you are always capricious and do not let your mother rest. I soon divorced my husband too, leaving him and his mother Melvin, their exact copy, and took my youngest daughter with me to a new life. A year after the divorce, I remarried. For Frank. I met my second husband through newspaper ads in the Lonely Hearts section. I had no doubt, Frank is the same prince from my dreams. The first few years we lived in perfect harmony and were very happy. But then Frank broke loose. He began to come home drunk more and more often, and then he could not dry out at all for whole days. I tried my best to return the prince whom I married. Frankly, all these years I was tormented by guilt before Melvina. After all, I left her alone with these terrible people, a stupid dad and an old marasmatic mother-in-law. Trying to make amends a little bit, I began to try to build a relationship with Melvina. My daughter willingly went to meet me and sometimes even left her grandchildren with me. One day Melvina went shopping and left her newborn daughter with me. The girl was screaming so hard, and I still couldn't calm her down. It was as if she was deliberately mocking me, deafening with her scream. Looking into the baby's face, I recognized them, my first husband and his mother. It's theirs traits, their breed. She is also against me and does it out of spite. At that moment, I wanted only one thing, for the child to stop screaming, and there was silence. Trying to get rid of the sound destroying my consciousness, I grabbed a hairpin. Melvina sobbed over the lifeless body of her daughter. Strange, but at that moment I did not feel sorry for either her or her daughter. The child's death was ruled an accident. A few weeks later, Melvina left me 2-year-old Robert. On that day, I studied the boy especially closely, finding in him more and more of the kind of people I hated. My father, first husband, mother-in-law, my mother. And this smile of his is exactly like that of his grandfather. I myself did not understand how it all happened. Just now I was playing with blocks with Robert, and now I was removing the down pillow from my grandson's whitened face. Realizing what I had done, I arranged everything so that the boy's death looked like an accident. And they believed me. Frank came back dead drunk that day. It was unbearable. He wanted to destroy my dream, and he succeeded. This could not continue. I had to admit, I was wrong again. And Frank will pay for it. I always told my husband that drinking would ruin him. Especially if you add arsenic to it. After Frank died, I moved to a place near Jacksonville and met Arlie, my third husband. But Arlie forgot to warn me before the wedding that he was an alcoholic. It was a real betrayal. I stepped on the same rake again. Arlie deceived me and should have been punished for this. The death of my third husband was attributed to alcohol abuse. Himself to blame. My fourth husband's name was Richard. With him, I finally found true happiness and was able to feel like a fragile princess under the protection of a brave knight. Suddenly, my mother reappeared in my life. Like a spit in my face from the past. She broke her leg and now needed care. I found myself back on the farm I hated. Memories of my terrible childhood choked and haunted. I became a slave in the damn lot again. One fine day, I could not stand it. Arsenic. A good old trusted friend who helped me out of trouble so many times. My older sister seems to have begun to suspect something. I couldn't let her ruin my happiness with Richard and called my friend again for help. When I returned from the farm, an unpleasant surprise was waiting for me at home. I found my brave knight Richard in bed with another princess. Ni bilo osan bolno, sito mus tak postupal so manoy, a days plakala na ego pohorona. Pato go muza zavali semwale. Prekrasnij selovic. On osan lubal pukit mina. Sliskam lubal. Asa semwale lubal pierogi. Slivovai pirog s mysakam prizalsa emu podus. Kako nezno testo, udivlalsa muzenik. Semwale okazalsa kreps, gemma damala, on visal. Kogda sem vernulsa is bulna si, to snova stal pitatsa pukit mina. Prislos predlos at emu kofe s mysakam, sitobi on nemnago uspokoilsa. K sozaleniu, na atat raz mina pojmali. Visemu vinoj vrachi is bulna si, vikodaraj lezel mus pozal togo, kak otvadal parag. Ni tak I ne udalos nikogo ubedit v tom, sito smrt sema neskast ne slukaj. Sida v seri stena termi, ni predstavlalos, sito a princesa, zato sena v basni zilaj koldanej. Adu si por iskren vuru. Sito odnazdi moj prink obazatelno pridit za manoy I my budum skastlivi vmest.